Good morning, everyone. Good morning, buenos dias. Thank you for joining us today. If you'd like to introduce yourself in the chat, we'd love to know where everyone is joining us from, and we'll go ahead and get started because we're right at time. So again, thank you all for joining us today for this webinar. My name is Dr. Mara Noemi Lopez. I'm the HSI Research Center Director at the University of Arizona, helping lead many of the AZ HSI Consortium initiatives, and I will be your facilitator today. So we want to start always, all of our webinars, we want to start by introducing the consortium. The AZ-HSI Consortium was established in 2021 by Dr. Marla Franco, Vice President of HSI Initiatives at the University of Arizona, and Dr. Ray Rivera, President at Estrella Mountain Community College. The consortium seeks to strengthen the individual and collective capacity of Arizona HSIs to intentionally support conditions necessary for student success in Arizona. So this webinar, along with many others that we've hosted this year, will be available on our YouTube page. Additionally, our 2024 annual report has now been made available online, and you can learn more about these efforts and the consortium as a whole by taking a picture of these QR codes. The link will also be provided in the chat for you by Paulette. Thank you so much, Paulette. We'll now transition to our webinar. So we've been hosting various webinars throughout the year on diverse topics, inviting folks from all over the state of Arizona, all AZ HSIs. Today's webinar, I'm very honored to introduce Cynthia Romero to share her topic on empowering youth, integrating their voice in program decision making. Cynthia, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Lopez, and want to especially thank my former student, Paula Nevares, for inviting me for this as well. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Joaquin Bustoz Math Science Honors Program, which is a summer program here at Arizona State University. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my story and kind of introduce myself, talk a little bit about the summer program, and then get into the topic of empowering student voice within your programming. So let's go ahead and get started. One thing I do want to mention is that all the pictures that you see throughout our presentation are all of our summer 2024 pictures, which we are very excited about. So again, talk a little bit about myself, overview, and then at the very end, we'll say make sure to save some time for any questions that any of you may have. So a little about myself. My name is Cindy Barragan Romero. I am a first-generation Mexican-American from Yuma, Arizona. I did actually attend this summer program when I was a high school student at the end of my junior and my senior year. Went to COFA High School in Yuma, Arizona. And not only did I work for this program, or not only did I attend the summer program while I was a high school student, I also worked for this program while I was a student. So I pretty much kind of had every job, every capacity that the summer program has offered, anything from a tutor, from a counselor, and just kind of work my way up. And now I'm actually going to be celebrating my 25th year working as an administrator for this summer program. I am also a first generation college graduate. I did attend Arizona State, so I am a Sun Devil, and I've received my degrees in mathematics and communication, and also a educational leadership master's degree from Northern Arizona University. In addition to working for the program, I've also served as a math and communication adjunct faculty for both South Mountain and Chandler Community College for over 10 years as well. Some of the things I'm really passionate about working with a diverse population of students, which does include students who are first generation college bound, such as myself, students who come from low income families, those who are underrepresented students in STEM, which includes any kind of, females, underrepresented students, and lifelong learners as well. One thing that I've learned as a community college professor is the amount of students that are non-traditional learners, students who come and, are doing evening classes, have dropped out of college and just come back, students who are older and have had their kids and now grandkids and coming back to school. So I love working with lifelong learners as well. And some of the things over the 25 plus years that I've been with the summer program that I've learned about and love talking about, I love talking about imposter syndrome. I feel like that's something that a lot of us, including myself, have gone through, especially when you're a woman in STEM, a Latina in STEM. Talking about my experiences with imposter syndrome, uh, unfortunately, something that a lot of us still kind of deal with, belonging in STEM. How to deal with failure is a really big topic that we discuss in the summertime. Um, but also with that growth mindset. And then the pressures of being the first in your family to go to college. As many of you may know, being a first generation student means that you don't necessarily have anyone there to be able to help you and kind of like help set that pathway for you to go to college or navigate any of these things that you're dealing with, being those Latinos in STEM. So, kind of sharing those experiences that I had to be able to help other students kind of realize that they're not alone are some of the big things that not only I'm passionate about talking, but that we definitely do in the summertime with our students as well. And again, at the end of the day, I just hope it encourages others to know that they're not alone. And if I'm able to do it and other people are able to do it, there's no reason why they can't do it as well. So first and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about the program, who we are, what we do, who our students are. So again, this is our summer 2024 cohort. These are all of our incoming freshmen that we had and who are now ASU Sun Devils here, finishing up their freshman year. And we'll talk a little bit about it later, a little bit more in detail. But a lot of these students are actually coming back to work for us in the summertime, just continuing that mentorship of our students. So very excited for that. Let's talk a little bit about our summer program. So we are a 6-week summer residential program. It is a mathematics program that's open to all Arizona high school students who are interested in any kind of careers in STEM. Some of the things that kind of set us apart from other summer programs is the fact that the students do live on campus. It is a residential program. They're taking and enrolling into an ASU math class for college credit. So it is something that will stay on their transcript. They do receive a university grade for it. We are actually celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. So since 1985, we've had over 3,100 students attend. Again, including myself, including Paulette here. So we have a really great network throughout the state of educators and engineers and teachers, scientists just all over, and just helping to spread the word about our summer program, which is great. Now, one of the big, huge font things that you can see is the fact that the cost of the program is free to attend. We really are trying to get rid of those barriers for students to be able to attend college. And one of the barriers, as many of us know, for students, especially first generation students and low income students, is the cost. It probably cost us roughly anywhere between $4,500 and $5,000 for a student to participate in the summer program. And that is a barrier that we take for our students. So it is completely free for them to attend. Their housing, the room, the board, everything is covered when they attend our summer program. But because of the cost and because we do cover everything, we're limited to only taking 90 students statewide. So it is a very highly competitive program. On average, we probably have anywhere between 250 to 300 applications per year for the 90 spots that we are taking. So we're very proud of our students, our 90 that are coming this year. We have a really great representation from the state. So we're very excited to have them starting on June 1st. So a couple of the benefits that our students experience while they're here is because it is a residential program, they're not home, they're out, they're not with their parents. They get to pretend to be a college student for 6 weeks. They're living on campus, they're waking up on their own. They're literally getting ready to be college students. And again, for many of them, it's their first time away from home. They're not used to being without their parents, without their siblings. So this is just a preview of what's to come. And as I mentioned, they get to live at the dorms on campus. We're going to be staying at the Baird dorms this summer, which is a nicer dorm, for the students to kind of, get that experience. As I mentioned, they do earn free math credits. So that is something that will, if they choose to come to ASU, they'll have their credit and they'll have their GPA here. That credit is also transferable to another school. So we do have a lot of our students go to U of A. We have a lot of them going to NAU and out of state. So they're able to transfer that credit to other institutions, which is great. It just gets them ahead of their STEM careers. The classes that we do offer, which we'll talk about in a second, they do start to satisfy their math prerequisites for STEM. So we have a lot of our students, for example, I have 2 girls that are coming this summer. It will be their 3rd summer that they're attending. They've already taken Calculus 1, Calculus 2. We actually didn't have anything for them to take. So we're offering an elementary differential equations class for these 2 girls. And that's a sophomore level class. And they haven't even started. They're going to be freshmen here in the fall, but they're already 3 semesters ahead with their math than everybody else does. So the fact that they're getting these things out of the way is really impactful and really helpful. Aside from the class, some of the other things that we do is we work with the students and we teach them about STEM majors and we talk to them about STEM careers. A lot of our faculty or a lot of our staff, we'll talk about in a second, are current ASU students who a lot of them are STEM majors. So they get the opportunity to talk to them. Hey, you know what? I'm a junior chemical engineering major. This is what I do. One of the biggest things that our students have issues with is what do I want to major in? And this way they get direct one-on-one mentorship with our students on what is it they want to learn about, what are different, STEM majors that I can do at ASU. We also have career panels where we have a lot of our alumni who are in industry come back and talk to our students. And these are some of the struggles that I went through. A lot of them, again, from the same backgrounds that they came through. This is what I do at my current job. This is what a computer science engineer does. So again, trying to teach our students about careers that they could potentially go into. They also receive valuable academic success tips. Again, we talk about applying to school. We talk about financial aid. We talk about different organizations on campus that can help them. The goal is to help them transition from high school to college and get them ready for ASU. And what I think is one of the best parts of our program is they get to meet other like-minded students from across Arizona. Sometimes they're in a little bubble because they're the one smart kid and don't necessarily have another buddy like that that kind of shares the same thing. We've had students tell us like, well, it's not cool to be smart in my school, which really breaks my heart. And now they get to be with these other like-minded students who share the same thing. They all love math. They all want to do STEM and maybe haven't been able to express that in the past. So the fact that we're putting them with other students that are like that is a huge, huge help as well. So some of the dates and courses, as I mentioned, we're starting on June 1st, which we were very excited about. We run for 6 weeks. We offer anything from college algebra all the way to our new elementary differential equations class. And again, our students can actually come for up to 3 years, especially if they come at the end of their sophomore year. So we do have a lot of students coming in with 9 math credits done and out of the way before they even start their freshman year. Again, they're just kind of moving ahead from that major math and getting their stuff done and out of the way. Let's see, ASU actually did come and do a profile on us this summer and kind of put together this nice little video to talk a little bit about the student experience from coming to our summer program. And then Paulette, let me know if there's any issues with the sound when I play this, okay?
10% of what the students are going to learn is math, which is an odd thing to say when they're here for a math camp. Some of the takeaways that they learn is how to manage life without their parents, how to live on campus, how to ask for help, how little sleep can they get through. They push themselves farther than they ever expected themselves to do. The Joaquin Bustoz Math Science Honors Program is a summer math program at ASU. Students get to live on campus for 6 weeks and they take a 6-week math class for college credit. They get to just experience college life. This program showed me a lot of things that I wouldn't have known. I would not know what it's like to be on a college campus, to have a college schedule, to be with college students. Being in the classes helped me realize that it's not going to be so scary like how I thought it would.
Honestly, it's way different at high school because the classes are so much more fast paced. I think it's experience that's definitely helping me get ready for the full aspect of college.
When the students finally realize this is my future, I want to come to ASU, I want to come to college, I want to major in STEM. There's nothing better than that.
You're still having fun here at the program, but you're also getting yourself ready for your first semester at college.
I've learned more than I ever have in any high school class. They know what it's like to be a student and it's really easy to relate to them. There's a lot of people who are around to help you and they want you to succeed.
When the program started in 1985, the goal was to increase the number of underrepresented students in math. For us to be here 39 years later, 3,000 students later, and still be serving that goal is really impressive. I'm really glad that we've been able to continue to this day.
There. All right, so as I mentioned, we are celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. So some of the stats over the last going into 40 years is that 73% of our students, our 3,100 and some odd students, have been first generation college bound. So again, first in their family to go to college. 87% of our students have actually received an A or a B in their math course while they've been here at the program. Again, the fact that it goes on their transcript is something we take very seriously. So we do offer that academic help to them pretty much the whole day for the 6 weeks that they're here. 96% of our students attend college after high school, and 73% of all of our college grads earn STEM degrees. And again, that is a really big deal for us, trying to push these students to go into STEM, to stay in STEM, and then be able to graduate and move on. So a little bit about our staff. As I mentioned before, we have 90 students that are coming this summer, and we have just finished interviews a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to be employing about 40 summer staff. So here's a picture of some of our staff from last year. They are all current ASU students. 67% of our staff for summer 2025 are actually returning alumni. So they've attended this as a student before, and so now they're coming to, again, give back to the program, work for us, and then mentor like a whole new generation of students that are coming in. So these students are going to be serving as our senior supervisory staff. They're going to be math tutors. They're going to be success coaches. We also have program mates helping us. We've got about 40 total staff. And one of the goals that we have is to try to hire staff that represent our students. We want our students to be able to see themselves as college students, as STEM students. So that is a really big deal when we are trying to hire our staff as well. So one thing I do want to mention, that aside from an accountant that we share with our sister program, it is just two of us running the summer program. So it's me and my colleague that's pictured here. We're responsible for 130 people in the summertime. So again, we've got our 40 staff and we have our 90 students. And it's a lot. We know that it's a lot. It's a lot of chaos. We are fielding a lot of things going into this last month of planning. But you know what? At the end of the day, we can use all the help that we can get. So, and honestly, our students are the best resource. So why not use them for help? So why is it so important for us to use youth voice in our summer programming? So first and foremost, it involves the students in their learning. If they feel like they have buy-in in what they're going to be learning, they tend to be more engaged. They tend to be more interested in what it is that we're offering them. And as I mentioned before, with the 2 full-time staff, it honestly saves time on asking students to help us to provide ideas. We don't have time to reinvent the wheel, and sometimes we don't always necessarily have the best ideas. So we want to be able to include that, the students' ideas into this. It helps us to develop our summer staff by delegating tasks to them. For some of our summer staff, it's their very first time that they have a job. So we also have that responsibility of like training them what it's like to be in a professional setting, making sure that they're learning how to manage students, how to manage staff. We want to try to, help our staff as much as we can, as they move on to other positions and other jobs. And as I mentioned, we don't always have the best ideas. We can have every master's, every PhD that we think, oh, all this research shows this. If they're not engaged, if they're not kind of having that buy-in, it doesn't really matter. Okay, because at the end of the day, we may not have the best ideas. We may not be implementing that. We may have the best intentions, but it may not be coming across in a way that the student is going to properly receive it. So again, for us, our students are probably our biggest resource and when it comes to our programming, is our students who are coming in the summertime and our staff that are current ASU students as well. So some of the reasons why this works for us, we have the students here for 6 weeks. Okay. Essentially, we're their moms and they see us every single day. Okay. And we understand that that's a privilege that not many other programs have. Okay. We understand that sometimes they're after school programs, they get to go home. Maybe it's like a one-time event and that's it. So we understand that we have this very unique situation where we have the students here for the 6 weeks. My colleague and I have both been here with the program, not only for a long time, but both of us are also alumni of the program. So we understand all aspects of it, and the students know us, they trust us, they have established these solid relationships with us because they have seen us as high school students and now through college students. So they develop that bond with us where we're able to trust them and they're able to trust us. As I mentioned before, we have a lot of our alumni to come back to work as program staff, further establishing that trust and relationships that we have with them. And we are also very lucky and very blessed that we do have money in our budget for our current students who are now graduated from high school and attending ASU. We fortunately have the money to do monthly luncheons and get-togethers for our alumni to keep them together. We attend those events with them. We just took our students a couple weeks ago to go see Wicked here on campus. talked to them about summer opportunities. We have ice cream socials. We had our Sparky, our, ASU mascot, come into the office. So we're very fortunate that we have the money to be able to do that. But again, understand that that may not be the case for every single program, but this is one of the reasons why this works for us. So a couple of examples that we're going to be talking about today of how we use our youth voice within our program are the following. So we do have summer planning meetings with our students. We're going to go into that. Another one is the summer staff interview help that we receive. Student pre-surveys for students who are coming into the program, staff training, and weekly student surveys. So these are 5 of the things that we're going to go over today on some of the ways that the students have been helping us with our program. So first of all right, so for our summer planning meetings, we do these at the end of every summer, and then we wait for the students to come back to school and we'll order food. Otherwise they don't come. We'll talk about bribing later, because that's compensation, and bribing is actually a really big thing. So we'll talk about that later. But every year we have an informal discussion. We'll open it up to all of our students for ASU. Hey guys, we really like some feedback on the summer, and so kind of poke your brain on some ideas that you might have for next summer. We'll offer food. So we just have a really informal discussion, and we talk to our students and our staff. What worked, what didn't work, why didn't it work? How do you think that we could improve on this? So we usually have an idea of some things that we see that we can improve upon, and then we kind of toss it back up to them. Like, how do you think that we can make this better? And just kind of brainstorm ideas, our ideas and their ideas, to be able to come up with what we want to do. And some of the benefits of this meeting, they get to discuss their ideas in detail. Everyone does do a survey at the end of the summer. Sometimes they're just ready to leave. Sometimes they're like, yes, 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 but we want to be able to get that qualitative information from them. So being able to tell us, well, this is what I meant by what I said on the survey, is really beneficial. Another benefit is they can get a sense that we care about improving the program. We want to make sure that it's dynamic and that it's improving, based on the situations and everything that's happening. We don't want to remain stagnant. We want to make sure that we're improving the program. And I think that the students get a real sense of that when we have these meetings. We get to preview some of our ideas at the end of the summer. Sometimes we have ideas and we'll just kind of bounce it to them. And they'll be really honest with us, because they do have that relationship. That's a horrible idea. Why would you even think that that would be good? Or, oh, I think that that's a really great idea, but what if you guys do this? The students like that we take their ideas into consideration, and again, continue that trusting relationship that they have with us. It also helps us to identify future summer staff, especially when we talk to our freshmen who just finished being a student and now they're freshmen at ASU. We know that we need to hire staff. And so it's kind of nice to be able to kind of see where their brain is going, kind of pick their ideas. And, well, if I was a staff, I would do this. And we're like, okay, mental note. That just helps us to identify people who we think would be really good for working in the summer. So it kind of helps us on a lot of different things. So some of the outcomes that we had from our end of summer 2024 meeting is the students and the staff were like, we need to hire a staff member to oversee our evening tutoring staff. Right now, we do offer evening tutoring, but we don't necessarily have a point person. We have one during the day, but not at night. So that is something that we implemented for this year, is we did hire a night supervisor to oversee the staff. One of the students said that they wanted to hold some kind of weekly mental well-being meetings at the dorm, just to encourage students to share their feelings. She felt like she was the only one who was struggling with homesickness and didn't realize that a lot of other people were going through the same thing too. So she said it would be nice if every week, just really informal, we don't need anyone from counseling coming here, just someplace where we can vent, like, I'm really homesick. Oh, I'm really homesick too. And just kind of be able to share that, knowing that they're not alone with their experiences. And that is something that we're going to be implementing this year as well. Our staff had mentioned that they wanted more staff training throughout the program on how to handle student behavioral and discipline issues. So maybe not just at staff training, they wanted continual training throughout the 6 weeks of the program. So again, all these are things that we'll be implementing. Our students mentioned that they wanted to plan all activities ahead of time so we can plan accordingly, whether it be, budgeting, whether it be we had a spirit week and then students didn't have the proper attire and then they can't go home on the weekends. But if we let them know ahead of time, they felt like they would be able to participate without having to buy anything. improving processing from purchasing program supplies. Again, the financial aspect that came from it. We didn't have a lot of people attending evening tutoring at the beginning, so they were coming up with some really great ideas on how we can encourage the students to attend and just make it more fun and not as intimidating. And everyone expressed that we needed more ways to communicate upcoming activities to students and not just putting it on one place. So a lot of really great ideas that, again, they are the ones with kind of boots on the ground, seeing everything firsthand. So a lot of really good things that we are going to be and this is just a small part of the list of the things that came up from that meeting. So again, really beneficial when moving forward to our summer 2025 planning. Our staff interviews is another thing. On average, we probably interview about 100 students for 40 staff positions. It is very overwhelming, and it's a lot, to be honest, again, for the 2 staff that we have here. But we do have 2 academic year tutors who are current students who have worked for the program before, and we actually involve them with our staff interviews as well. So for our tutor candidates, they need to complete the formal interview with my colleague and myself, and then a mock tutor interview. And so those 2 academic staff, because they worked for the program before, they know what to look for. So they help us with those mock tutor interviews. So some of the benefits, again, from using them to help us with staff interviews is they understand the job role. They have worked as tutors and as graders for the summer program. So they already kind of know what to look for, what to expect, when we're doing those mock tutor interviews. They understand the role and the students' needs for that. They can check for the candidates' ability to connect with students and explain concepts clearly, which is something they've had to do in the past. They get to add their feedback to our formal interview notes. So we do meet with them afterwards and to say, this is what we came up with our, part of the interview. What do you guys think about them? And then we do have discussions about each candidate. And then, as I mentioned, we're interviewing about 100 people for these 40 spots. It takes a long time. So by having them help us, it actually helps us save time on the interview process so we can work on other programming things that we need. So here's a little bit of feedback that the student staff will work on when they're interviewing each of the individual tutor candidates for those mock tutor ones. Again, we ask them, talk to us a little bit about the problem. In your opinion, do you feel like they would be a good person for us to hire? And then what class would they be good for? Again, they've worked as tutors before, so they know what to expect, which is a huge, huge help for us. Staff training is another part where we really use our students to help us out as well. Staff training occurs the week before the students come. So this year it'll be the week of Memorial Day. But our senior staff who will oversee our success coach and our math class supervisors, they help us to present during staff training week. The first half of the morning is more formalized training where my colleague and I will take over that part, but then we break out into the different job roles, and that's where our senior student staff are kick in. Some of the benefits for that, it helps us to build up our senior staff and give them the leadership skills and responsibility. We do have our hierarchy. We want our staff to be able to go to their immediate supervisors if they have any questions and concerns. Obviously, they're always welcome to come to us, but we want to be able to develop our staff and then again, gain those leadership skills as they're moving on to, other positions, in the future. It also helps us to save time by, if we develop the senior staff and they can help us, it gives us the time to be able to work on other staff because again, it's that last minute scramble trying to get ready for our students to arrive. A lot of the times they have really great ideas for training, for icebreakers, for fun activities. We're older, and so something that we think is cool isn't necessarily what the students think is cool. So again, even for ideas for icebreakers has been really helpful. And it allows them to mentor new staff by sharing their personal experiences working for the program or just being an ASU student in general. Which again, because my colleague and I are older, we can't really relate to them on that level. And our staff, when our students that do this during staff training, it's really, really helpful. So some of the sessions that our senior staff did during 2024 is our class supervisors were working with the staff on teaching effective tutoring techniques, some things that work, some things that don't work. How to mentor students who are struggling. They talked to them about what are best, do you have visual learners? Do you have kinetic learners? Finding different ways of explaining problems to the students, the student staff took that over. For our residential staff, they talked about how to approach conflicts in the classroom or the residence hall. As a student, I saw this. As a former staff member, I saw that. And again, just being able to relate to them because they are younger in age has been more helpful. And then team building activities to make sure that all the different positions within the program are those teams that are communicating well. So again, these are all examples of things that our student staff have taken over in the summertime. So that's kind of from the staff point of view. We also really rely on our students, even though we've never really met them. We really rely on our students. Like, what is it that they want to learn? What is it that they want to know about? So we can plan accordingly. Okay. So before the students, we actually sent this out already. We sent this out at the end of April. We send them a pre-survey. So the students will give us their information on how they feel about college. What majors are they interested in? What are they nervous about? What are they excited about? Ideas for Spirit Week. I don't necessarily know how many programs do this. Again, the expectation is I have a high school age daughter, so a lot of the programs that she's done has just been you register and you just kind of show up. So when I told her about this, she was like, "Oh, that's kind of weird that you're asking students for information. That's kind of cool. I've never had that opportunity to do that before." And some of the benefits for that, it helps us to determine what do we want to talk about during academic success sessions. Again, we may think that the students really want to know about this, but that's not what they really care about. They really want to know about that. So that will help us to determine what the topics are going to be when we have these academic success sessions. It helps us to determine the types of majors that we're choosing for career panel. We're very fortunate that we have a very wide array of our alumni of where they are working in industry. So that kind of helps us to narrow down what majors the students specifically want to learn about. It helps us to identify key things that students are nervous about so we can plan activities accordingly. And it encourages students to participate in Spirit Week when they see that their ideas are implemented. We have a lot of students who are go-getters. They're doing student council, things that really work at their high school that they're excited to share. So again, this is all information that we've already attained. And here are some of the results. But one of the questions that we ask our students is, what kind of college topics do you want to learn about? We're telling them everything from, hey, I'm a first-gen student, talk to me about overcoming imposter syndrome, to I want to talk about females in STEM. Is it going to be hard? Are there any resources there for, women in STEM, talking about self-care, especially after COVID, there has definitely been an increase on the amount of students that want to hear about mental well-being and self-care. And so that is something that we ask them about as well. So again, these are all the different topics that we asked them for, and this is what they responded for this summer. So 76% of our students are worried about paying for college, and they want to learn about the FAFSA and they want to learn about scholarships. So we are definitely going to put together a academic success presentation that focuses on paying for college. It looks like 64% of our students are worried about picking a major. We have a lot of students who come in and say, "Oh, I want to be a chemical engineer." What do they do? I don't know, but I know they make a lot of money, but I don't know exactly what they do. So talking about specific, and not just engineering, what does an actuary do? What does a biologist do? What does a pre-med student do? So we want to be able to, offer this session on choosing a major there. It looks like the next big one was like housing, whether they want to live on campus or commute. We have a lot of students that have no idea, have never been away from home. I have no idea what it's like to live at the dorm. How do I pick my roommate? It's better for me to commute because I don't have the money to live on campus. So everything that's at least a 50% or above is a definite. It looks like there's another communication skills like meeting people in college. These are the types of things that the students want to know about. So this is what we will focus a lot of our academic programming, success session programming around, is what do the students want to know. We also ask them, what majors are you interested in? Again, so that way it'll help with our career panel, it'll help with some of our presentations. So 40% of our students are interested in aerospace engineering, aerospace and mechanical engineering. And it looks like 34% of our students are looking at applied math or actuary. So those are some of the alumni that we'll be reaching out to, and we'll take a look at some of the other ones as well. But those are the ones that students really want to know about. We also kind of ask them more personal questions just to kind of help us, like, what's the vibe going to be when they get here? What are they thinking? So we asked them, what are the words that most describe you feel about going to college? It looks like over 80% of our students are excited, but We also have 33% that are worried and they feel unprepared and they're overwhelmed and they're confident. They're kind of all over the place. So this gives us good feedback on how do we approach these topics with our students, do we want to make it happy, shiny, ASU is awesome and everything is great? Or do we want to talk to them about, we understand some of the things that you guys might be worried about and let's talk about that. So that is also very helpful information for us to know as well. We asked them an open-ended question. What are you nervous about? We have 95 responses. This is just like a little snippet. The majority of the students are worried about making new friends. They're worried about meeting people because no one from their school is coming, and they're worried about how hard is this class going to be. So that first week, we really want to focus on having activities, just fun activities for the students to come and like meet others. We want to make sure that we're identifying students who are really worried about the academic rigor of the class and making sure that we're stressing the importance of tutoring and working with others and asking for help. So again, this is really good information for us to be able to know beforehand. But yeah, the amount of students that say, I'm worried about leaving home and I'm worried about making friends, this breaks my heart, but that is definitely something that we will attack that first week. And then not only do we ask our students for feedback before the program, but we also ask them for feedback during the program. We like to think that we're doing a great job during the program, but you know what? Things don't always work out the way that we want to. And we want the students to be able to provide that feedback throughout. So we actually do weekly surveys, and we'll talk a little bit, we'll show you a couple of examples in a second. We do weekly surveys for our students to provide feedback. How are things going? How did you like this presentation? I know surveys are a big thing that we all want. We all want our feedback from our students. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. I'm sure that everyone, has had those issues with providing feedback. But again, what we do is we actually share the feedback anonymously back to our students and to our staff. As I mentioned before, we are fortunate enough that we have the money in our budget. So we actually buy a bunch of Amazon gift cards. And so anyone who completes the survey is entered in the gift card raffle. So we have about 95% completion every week, but because we're, raffling off these 2-3 Amazon gift cards every week that the students, and it's $25, so the students like get really excited about those. But again, we realize that not everybody has that money in their budget, but we're very fortunate that we have that. So some of the benefits of asking for the student feedback during the program is it fosters trust between the students and the staff, showing that we value their opinions and are committed to improving the experience, even though it's happening in real time. We're able to explain their answers, express their thoughts, and we also share the feedback to the teacher and to the staff. And I'll show you exactly what that means in a second. But we also emphasize that the feedback can directly influence changes in their class because it is important. Again, we're doing this program for them. They're the main reason why we're here. We want to make sure that they know that it is important, for them to be able to share their experiences and their concerns with us as well. So here's a couple of examples of things that we ask. So we know who has submitted. My colleague and I know because we do require their names on it, but this is all we show to everybody. A lot of times we have students who are really struggling in the class, but they're not necessarily sharing that with anybody. So the way they see it, everyone is excelling except for me. So we take this anonymous feedback and we go back into every single classroom at the end of week 1, at the end of week 2, and then to show them, this is how your class feels like the class is going right now. So for example, these are all responses that we got from the first week of one class last summer. So the first one says, how do you feel about the pace of the course? So 28% of our students are like, dude, it is going way too fast. Okay. And the professor, we sat down and then talked to the teacher. We're like, hey, just so you know, there are a couple of students who feel like the class is going too fast, the pace is going too fast. And then when we went in to talk to the students about this, they're like, the professor assumes we already know these concepts and we don't. It would be great if he was able to slow down and review the concepts more. Great. And that's something because the students don't feel comfortable raising their hand and saying that in the class. So the anonymous feedback is helpful to be able to provide this to the instructor and to the class staff as well. We also asked them, how do you feel like you're doing in the class? And this is our college algebra class, and this is our first week. And we had 57% of our students saying, I felt like I could be doing better. And that 14% like, I am really, really struggling. So for those kids that are like, wow, I thought it was the only one struggling, I guess I'm not. This is really impactful for them to be able to see, you know what, I'm not the only one that's having a hard time here. I'm going to have to ask for help. And that this is usually when we do, like, remember, we're trying to do this picture tutoring. But the comments we don't share, we mostly just share the big graphs, the comments we will share with our instructors and our staff. But again, some of the comments that they've said, about like homework, like specific sections that they were that they were struggling with. So these are all things that, again, we're able to, change, we're able to make those changes throughout the program instead of waiting for a survey at the very end where we can't do anything about it now. And this is something that we do every single week with our students. So a couple of tips on how others can implement some of this into their programming is, again, as I mentioned for us before, because we do have the students for 6 weeks, they're literally ours for 6 weeks. They can attend multiple summers. They already develop that relationship with us. And because we have been here for a long time, we've been able to have like a long-term relationship with some of these students. And we do have a lot of them coming back working as program staff, and because we have the money. So as I mentioned, this is the reason why a lot of these things work really, really well for us. So with other programs, it's important for you to consider, okay, let's take a look at our program. How often does it run? Is it something where you're working, is this a one-time thing? We're doing it yearly. How long do you have these students for? Can you establish those relationships of trust? How many students does the program serve? We have 90 students, which is a lot, and sometimes we develop closer relationships with some students than others. But if there's other programs where there's like 20 students where you can really, really get to know them on a one-by-one basis, that's really helpful. Who you have as program staff is really important. Again, because we are based at ASU, we do have college students who work as staff, and we can have a lot of our alumni come back. But again, for more like community organizations, do you have people come and work or volunteer in these positions that have worked with your program before? How well do you get to know your student participants? Is it just like a one-time activity, or is it something where you can get to know them? You can get to work with them a little bit longer. How are you able to establish a relationship with them? Again, the better relationship you have with them, the more comfortable they feel coming with you with ideas. Hey, you know what? You guys did that panel and it didn't really work that great, but maybe you guys should do this. Okay, are you able to establish that with your students? And then do you have students, access with your students outside of the program? So throughout the year, we have done two activities. We did an activity in the fall that we've never done before. We were very fortunate to get a small grant from APS that allowed us to bring some of our students back in the fall for an engineering event. And that went really, really well. And just the ability to be able to network with them, talk to them a little bit more about engineering at ASU. But for the most part, we only have our students physically here for 6 weeks, but we do continue communicating with them. We do monthly newsletters every month, and then we have a summer Discord page where the students are able to continue communicating with each other. We share stuff on our social media all the time, so they're able to kind of engage with us that way. So there's different ways that we can engage with our students outside of the program. So a couple of things to think about that might be helpful when you're considering these things for your program. Program alumni or people who have gone through the programs are such an invaluable part of our program. I cannot stress enough how many of our ideas or things that we implement in the summer come from our alumni. I'm talking like 80%. I mean, it's a lot that comes from our students. We know that they can make great staff members, volunteers, and even if they can't work for us, they want to come in and be able to give that feedback because they want the program to succeed and they want to be able to feel like they're contributing something to that. Sharing anonymous feedback for everything is just really great to let everyone know how they feel. The fact that they know that they are not alone, especially if they're struggling, is really helpful. Even if it just helps to like, hey guys, let's talk about it. Why do we have this 20% of you guys struggling so much if you feel comfortable sharing? So this anonymous feedback has been really, really helpful when we're sharing that back with the students. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about surveys. Surveys are helpful, okay? And our goal is to get 100% every single time, but students don't like doing surveys. We don't like doing surveys. We know how helpful they are, but getting the students to complete them is so hard. So compensation is really helpful. And I know that not every program has the money to be able to do that. But if we don't bribe our students, they will not come. Every month that we do a luncheon, they come because we're feeding them. Sometimes when we purchased our tickets to go see Wicked, we saw students that we haven't seen in like 2, 3 years and just kind of popped up. But we all went to dinner together. We all went to see Wicked together. So it helps us to like, hey, we haven't seen you guys in a long time. Like, what are you up to? What do you do in the summer? Are you looking for a summer job? So bribing the student, I don't want to say bribing, but compensating the students in some way, whether it be food, whether it be a gift card, whether it be some kind of experience, whether it be a free t-shirt. I'm amazed at how many people come out for free t-shirts. But some kind of something to help the students complete these surveys so we're able to get that feedback is really, really helpful. And again, one of the most important things to consider, in my opinion, is that the students need to see that their feedback is being incorporated. Once they see like, oh, I can make change by mentioning this. Obviously, there's some things that we can't change because we have to program, follow protocol or, program guidelines. But if they see that some of their feedback is being incorporated, it helps them to trust us. So that way, when they do have any issues, they feel more comfortable coming and talking to us about some of these issues, which is really, really helpful and insightful for us. So that's pretty much all I have today. Here's some of our contact information. And but if anyone has any questions at this time, I am more than happy. Thank you very much.
Cynthia, thank you so, so much for sharing how amazing your program is and being so honest about the process, the development, the funding that you all have that has contributed, I would imagine, greatly to your success. Um, Please, anyone that has any questions that you'd like Cynthia to answer, add them to the chat and we'll field them here. I'll go ahead if that's okay, ask a few questions. So you mentioned that some students had questions about, like, say, for example, FAFSA or exploring certain careers. And I'm curious to know how many like industry, community, or campus partners are involved in the 6 weeks. Do you bring them in? Do you do informational interviews? Do they do info sessions?
So we have these academic sessions. We have our Monday academic sessions where our success coaches who are our ASU students, they will take over those. They will talk more about like, this is what FAFSA is, and this was my experience with it. Oh my God, it was horrible because I didn't know what a 1040 is. Oh my God, it was the worst because we didn't know how to set up a parent ID online. So that's more of like the student personal experience that happens at our Monday session. On our Wednesday sessions that we have, we do bring in faculty. So we've had the last 2 summers, we've had a biologist come in and talk to them about like, here's a research program that I offer on campus. So we do have, our campus contacts. We have a college resource fair that we have, and we do rely a lot on our community partnerships that we have to come in and talk to us about their, Flynn scholarships or, be a leader organizations or engineering at U of A. So we have a lot of them coming in and talking to our students as well. They're going to provide the information better than we can. But yeah, we will have them coming in on like certain days. At the end of the day, the students are here for the 6 week program. So a lot of times they're like, oh my God, I have so much homework to do. So we try to, limit the amount of time, but we also realize how important these resources are, especially for those first generation students who don't have access to this stuff. But yes, we do have them come in and then do presentations and sessions and open Q&A with our students.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, Still waiting on a few more questions maybe to come in. So you mentioned a lot about the power of building trust and rapport. You also mentioned how maybe the longevity of your relationship and your tenure there with the program has contributed greatly to that. Do you have any advice for folks that want to create a student-centered program, maybe for the first time, and want to learn how to build trust and rapport with their students?
Yeah. I can definitely say that I think just having that communication with the students, I think even if it's in a small group communication, like even if it's something as small as what are you guys interested in? Just little tiny finding something in common. I find that one of the ways that our summer staff have kind of established that trust with our students, like, oh, I'm from the same oh, you're from Yuma? Oh, I'm from Yuma too. Just kind of getting something in common, like, oh, you're the oldest in your family. Oh, I have 7 brothers and sisters. I have 8 brothers and sisters. Just being able to find something that they have in common, even if it's like a fun activity, even if it's, I think that it's important, like us sharing things about themselves and just having the ability to be able to relate to them and to have them relate to us, I think is, it's okay to be vulnerable with our students. It's okay to be open with our students. It's okay to share our struggles and our failures and our, great things that have happened with the students. I think just kind of breaking down some of those walls, I think helps to establish trust.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Um, Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns, curiosities?
I have a question. So just because I know what the program consists of, but Cindy, I don't know if you could maybe elaborate a bit also on like how you bring in family for like orientation and the poster presentations and how they're included also in the process.
Mhm. So from the beginning, something that we've implemented in the last couple of years is our application process, and all of our parent paperwork has been translated into English and Spanish because we know that we have a lot of parents, especially with our first generation students. I know you're going to college and I have no idea how to help you. I have no idea what I'm signing. Um, as a first generation student who signed a lot of papers for my parents and had to explain a lot of things to my parents who didn't speak English very well. That was something that we thought was really important to be able to involve parents kind of in this learning from the beginning. We do have an orientation, an online orientation a couple of days before the program starts that we invite our students as well as the parents and guardians because we want them to kind of have that ownership and be able to help their students. Again, a lot of unknown information sometimes. And something that we do now, that we've done the last couple of years is we do a lot of like, we'll do a weekly newsletter that we send out to our students and to our parents and our guardians. So we'll let them know this is what your kid did this week. Here's a link to the presentation that we talked about financially. Here's a link to, the bio of the speaker that we had this week. We want the parents to see everything that the students are doing, just from a parent standpoint. I want to make sure that my kid is learning and that my kid is safe. But we want to make sure that parents are involved and that when the kid comes home on Friday, like, oh, I saw that you guys had this. Talk to me a little bit more about this. It's giving that opportunity for students to talk to their parents about everything that they learned and everything, especially if there's younger siblings involved. Like, oh, you learned this. Like, how's that something that we could teach our younger siblings about going to college or learning about engineering or learning about STEM? And then we also do a parent survey at the end, both in English and Spanish. Just kind of like what kind of changes do you see in your kid? Do you feel like they feel more confident about leaving home, coming to college? What changes have you seen in them? So we definitely want to make sure that our parents are involved, especially these first gen kids who parents really, I mean, my parents really, really tried to help me, but just had no clue how, had absolutely no idea how, again, couldn't read a lot of the forms. And so didn't know what orientation meant, didn't know what a facet was, didn't know what, so we want to make sure that we're sharing that information with our parents as well.
I mean, what a beautiful thing to integrate all of the feedback from all different levels for the students to impact them in their personal, professional, pursuits. So we have 2 questions in the chat in a couple more minutes. The first question is, do you have any student support programs that you try to connect your summer participants to for the academic year, like a personalized handoff?
So we don't necessarily do handoffs, but one thing that we do, we work individually, or we take all of our incoming freshmen as a group, and we have specific staff come and talk to them. So we do have, if I have a group of aerospace engineering students and I have one of my staff that's an aerospace engineering major, we'll have them kind of sit like, hey, these are really good professors. Oh, you don't want your schedule to look like this. Oh, here's a really good club that you should be doing. So it's kind of like helping and like mentoring them along the way. Last year, I know that we talked about ASU counseling services, and then some of our staff are like, here's some of my positive experiences I've had with counseling services. Here's the information for you guys to kind of, so there isn't necessarily a handoff, but it's more of like, here's my personal experience from some of the things that I have done on campus. We talked last year about whether a lot of our students obviously are low income, like can I balance having a job and being able to go to school? And yes, you can. Here's my experiences. So being able to kind of set them up with organizations on campus, whether it be a student organization or something like counseling services or like engineering research, we rely a lot on our summer staff to be able to do that.
Thank you. Okay, next question. So this is from Jose Ruiz. Thank you for sharing your insight. As someone looking to inspire colleagues to more actively integrate student voice into our programming, what's one specific strategy or conversation starter you found effective in shifting staff mindsets from doing for students to doing with students?
That's a really good question, actually. I feel like a lot of times, especially the higher up we go, the higher positions we go, the higher up in education we go, we know better. We have done the research. We've gotten our PhD in this. It almost kind of seems like we're the experts. So it does almost seem like we're doing this for the students. I know better and we're trying to, kind of, shove this off onto you. And something that I've definitely learned in a couple of years is that, again, I could have the very best research-based driven ideas and it falls flat, completely flat. So I think it is important that we remember I wouldn't have my job if it wasn't for my students. So a part of it has to be I'm doing this for the students, but I think the other part has to be I'm doing this with the students. And what's best, I can still put in my 2 cents and what I think is best for them based on our experiences and our years of education. We can still put that part in because that part's still relevant. But I think half of that has to be we're doing this with our students and being sure that we're working with them to come out with the best possible outcome. Because you know what? Just because we're the quote unquote experts doesn't mean that we know everything. And I think sometimes that's a hard pill for us to swallow because we've been doing this for X amount of years and I have this many degrees and that's not always the best way. Unfortunately, it is kind of tough to when that comes back and you're like, oh, but I thought that would be such a great idea. But yeah.
Well, and I think that the efficacy of your program, the longevity of your program really shows us a beautiful example of how we can weave in our experiences, our expertise, our knowledge, while also creating this cyclical sort of feedback loop from our students and even from our parents and partners that we work with. So thank you so much for sharing how possible it is to integrate and marry the group of feedback. So we're at the end of our webinar. Cynthia, thank you so much for sharing this work. Your work is incredible. I wish you great success in your summer program this year. And moving forward, please be sure to jot down her information here. We are going to be sending a follow-up email to all registrants with the slides and the webinar recording. We also have a quick post-webinar survey that we'd like you all to please respond to. It helps us improve our work as we disseminate more and host more webinars in the future. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. We hope you all have a great day.